Hey guys, Hunter Forbes, bringing you guys another Faceoff Factory Game Day breakdown. Today we're going to be going over Virginia versus Princeton, two pretty well-known programs. Both programs have two guys that contribute pretty decent amounts towards their faceoffs. Virginia has P.D. Lasala, who is currently sitting at 54%, winning 44 out of his 82 attempts. And then they have junior Justin Schwenk, who is currently sitting about 40%, winning 22 out of his 55 attempts. Princeton, on the other hand, has Philip Thompson, who is sitting at 55% this year, winning 20 out of his 36 attempts. And then number 47, Jack Henry Vera, who is at 54.8%, winning 17 out of 31 of his attempts. So those four players we're going to see today throughout our game. Just to give you a breakdown of what happened in the game, here's the box score for you. It looks like Peter Lasala took the majority of the faceoffs for Virginia, winning 10 out of 21 with 7 ground balls. That shows that he probably controlled a lot of the ones to himself that he did win. And Justin Schwenk ended up going 0 for 5 in his attempts. On Princeton's side, Philip Thompson took the majority, winning 10 out of his 16 attempts, but you'll notice he only has 1 ground ball. Probably suggests that a lot of his wins were scraps, maybe a lot of wing play involved, kind of maybe mucking it up a bit. Same with Jack Henry Vera, who won 5 out of his 9 attempts with only 1 ground ball. So they won the face-off battle, but I think we'll see soon that it was because of good wing play and being able to muck it up when they didn't necessarily win the clamp. So let's get started. For Virginia, we have LaSalle in blue and Philip Thompson in white for Princeton. Right off the bat, starting out the game strong with a nice fast break. He brings it down, shoots it high over the net. I think Thompson does a good job on this face-off of, even though he does get beat on the clamp pretty cleanly, he is able to disrupt a little bit on that ground ball and make it not super easy for LaSala to scoop it up. Next face-off here. Same two going at it. Let's see. Both have a pretty big left-hand punch, more than my taste necessarily, but not always a bad thing. You'll notice Thompson does do a good job getting his face over the ball, kind of trying to control that area of the field. And so he's not overextending himself. His arm's still able to be bent and get power driving into the ground as well. It's hard to see what's going on with LaSala's side of things. Looks like he has his left hand a lot lower, you'll notice, which I'd say is probably more beneficial to him than having Thompson's hand way up high. You can't really drive down into the ball with your left hand that high. I think a few inches off the ground like LaSala has is a lot more beneficial in a tie-up like situation like this. Looks like LaSala won the clamp after a brief tie-up. Thompson goes for the little bit fish hook, but you can't really do that. Refs are kind of cracking down on it, so he disengages from that, stands up. So what he does here is he throws a check right when LaSala is about to try to pull it, which is a smart move. You want to try to disrupt that pull. LaSala does a good job of being patient, absorbing that check, and then pulling it out. I think. Oh, I'm sorry. No, yep, he does a good job pulling it out. Pulls it a good distance away, but actually helped him disengage from the wings and get a good head start to the ground ball. Let's see. Now we have Jack Henry Vera in for Princeton going against LaSala, Virginia again. Let's see. Right off the bat, Jack does a good job keeping his left hand a bit lower. Very, very strong left hand punch, it looks like. Throwing it pretty far forward. Like I said, a little more than my liking, but sometimes it's to each their own with that kind of style. You'll notice, however, Jack, I don't think he's doing a fantastic job right now moving his feet whereas you can see LaSala is rotating his hips around, which is enabling him to drive into the ball consistently as he rotates around. Whereas Jack might be struggling to get a good leverage on the ball because his left arm, the left side of his body, you can see it's kind of overextended over here. It's a pretty straight line. You might want to swing his feet around to be able to drive back into the ball and get to the strong part of his stick. Salah wins again. He does a good job. He makes a good decision to try to pull it out to the right. There's no wing players there. He recognizes the opening area. However, I think he just takes pressure off his hand too early and the pinch, and it just dribbles out before he was able to control it. Does a good job of getting ground ball. One thing you'll notice, I think a theme will be of this game, after watching a couple, Virginia does a good job of breaking up field in these situations, and Princeton actually slides upfield a lot, which is opening these transition opportunities. Now we have number 5. It's a midfielder for Princeton, I believe. He probably an athletic guy. You go and stand up, just try to swipe it out, maybe disrupt the face-off. LaSalle's been doing a good job of winning the clamp, so they're trying to just throw something different at him. Notice there he did a good job of throwing that check right when LaSalle was trying to pull it and disrupting his pull and was able to get the ground ball. Good pull on LaSalle's part, won the clamp. I think unfortunately got stuck in his stick. This time he was able to exit successfully if it were not to get stuck in his stick. He was able to keep it pinched and get it up in the direction he wanted it to go, but unfortunately got stuck in his stick a bit, it looks like. Now we're back to Philip Thompson versus LaSalle again. About even on the reaction time. You'll notice, again, LaSalle does a great job getting his hips around, so he's always punching into the ball in this direction as opposed to whereas Thompson's kind of almost going away from it, overextend the left side of his body. It's going to be hard for him to get the amount of leverage he wants in this type of situation, whereas with his hips not rotating with his shoulders. Does a good job, nearly gets a swipe out, which disrupts LaSalle's pinch. He wasn't able to get a clean pinch on it. Then it comes out loose, and Princeton was able to come up with the GB. So, like we talked at the beginning, whereas Thompson might not be getting these ground balls for himself, he's able to disrupt LaSalle's rhythm, and his team can end up with the ground ball, which is the ultimate goal. Big face-off here. Good reaction time on LaSalle's part. Really came into it hard. When Thompson punches his left hand forward and then tries that swipe, it's a decent – I definitely like the swipe attempt out, maybe get a piece of it and make it dribble out or at least disrupt his pull. But he also kind of puts himself in a bad position where he is – all his weight's going one way, and since his left hand's so far forward, it almost opens this pathway for LaSalle to pull the ball forward. Princeton's defender does a great job here, reading that he's going to come in and shoot, and backs up the ball. Now Jack Henry Vera's back in for Princeton. He does a great job this time initially of getting his hips around. He has that big left hand punch, but he does get his hips around, so it helps at least get him a point where he can use his leverage to try to win that tie-up situation. It looks, however, he might have almost, when he rotates with his left hand so much, he almost comes off the ball a little bit. Can't see for sure, but it looks like right here that now the ball is sitting right here because he didn't rotate into it too much, but almost around it. Good pull up by LaSalle, clean right to himself. Good outlet as the attackman. Back with Jack again versus LaSalle. So now this is a much more even tie-up. It's much more 50-50. LaSalle isn't winning the clamp as much as he has been in the game, but he has a good bit of it right here, and he knows that Jack's doing a good job getting around and possibly could steal the ball from him. So he gets out with what he has, just rips out, short little rip out. And then Jack does a great job of disrupting the ground ball and making it kind of a scrum. Once again, we notice at the end there, Virginia's players are cutting up field, whereas all three Princeton players are right here for a good transition opportunity. So we're back with Thompson. He goes for the swipe right away and is able to, after he swipes, he's able to get to his feet right away. And when LaSalle pulls it, he can beat him to the ball, which was a good effort. Great recognition by LaSalle here. Wins the clamp. He's getting hounded by Thompson, who's now fully embraced, just trying to disrupt it, make it a scrum. And he is able to find his wing who's running by and get a nice clean pull to him. And then, look, you can see the defender up here. That's another great transition opportunity if it connects. Back to Thompson, LaSalle again. Let's go back here. LaSalle does a great job here. It's a very efficient claim motion. He's not using too much left hand movement as opposed to some earlier face-offs. And I believe without all that left hand motion, he was able to really focus with his right hand, punch it clean down hard into the ball, and get a strong clamp on it right here. And he can go straight to the pinch. Thompson, working hard, gets up, trying to disrupt the pull. LaSalle reads it well and comes out to the right. He's able to get the ground ball. Another good transition opportunity for Virginia. Wing player read it well. I don't know if it wasn't a bad option necessarily putting it forward, but he might want to try to either disengage so he can control it more and so he doesn't pop so far forward, where he gives Princeton's wings a chance to get in and get the ground ball before he can. We have Justin Schwenk up now for Virginia, junior transfer, I believe, from 2 years prior. Is this Jack? Yeah, so he's going against Jack. Jack does a great job of getting his hips around this time, putting all his pressure on the ball. I'd like to see Jack maybe get off that knee a little bit so he can put even more of his weight and power behind him, driving off his feet into that clamp. Right now, because he was able to get around so effectively with his hips, he's bending back Schwenk's head, it looks like. Sawing on in there. Schwenk might want to, so in this situation, Schwenk might want to adjust, and if he has it, pull it out right now before Jack's able to bend back his head anymore, maybe steal from him, or Schwenk's going to want to really rotate quickly just to get his head back to a non-flex position where he can then reset and pull it out. What happens here happens to a lot of us face-off guys a lot, especially in the heat of a scrum like this, a big tie-up. He does a good job securing it, and he's going for a defensive exit to a lot of green space out of here with good decision. Unfortunately, you'll notice he drags it along the turf. And I believe that might be a CEO he's using. CEO has that kind of unique flex point where if it doesn't always pinch like a traditional head, where it kind of folds in the middle. So when he drags on that turf, that ball is rolling with that turf the entire time, and that friction is enough to get the ball to roll out. And then Jack is also doing a good job putting pressure on a stick, which helps the ball fall out before he's able to pull it. We got Thompson again versus LaSalle, it looks like. LaSalle does a great job just coming straight down into the ball. Strong clamp, gets it pretty quick. Thompson getting up, play defense. throws the check. Smart decision by LaSalle, I think, going to his wing. Unfortunately, it looks like they just made a bit of a scrum. And kind of the story of how Princeton's been winning these draws. He's able to get the ground ball, but ended up turning it over. Good job here by Thompson. They're in a bit of a tie-up. He kind of, at this point in the game, we've seen that LaSalle is doing a really good job of winning these clamps and winning these tie-ups. So Thompson takes what he sees. He takes what he's given, gets a little bit of the ball at the beginning, knows he might not want to stay in a tie-up battle with LaSalle based off how the performance has been so up to this point. And he makes a good decision of kind of swiping it out and making a scrum again. Princeton's been doing a really good job this game with their wings of getting the loose ground balls. I believe this is Jack again versus LaSalle. Good tie up here. Jack's throwing his body weight over that, trying to bend back LaSalle's head. LaSalle might want to just, once again, try to, if his head's getting bent back too much, quick rotation, try to unflex it, unbend it back, and then so he can pull it. I just don't think Jack was really getting over the ball as much as he was bending back LaSalle's head. But they do a good job making a scrum here, like they have been, come up with the ground ball. See, we got Thompson back in. I kind of like Princeton's philosophy. They have two guys taking about the same amount of reps this year, really about in the same percentage, win percentage, and they're throwing each other. They're going back and forth, not really giving LaSalle a good rhythm to get in because he has to constantly adjust to the new opponent, and kind of in his head he has to remember what one person does well, what the other person does well, and it's hard to get in a rhythm sometimes. So I think Princeton does a good job of throwing multiple different looks at LaSalle and making him try to adjust to that. So we got Thompson back in. LaSalle wins the clamp cleanly, does a nice little pull to the right, runs to open space. So Schwenk back in versus Jack this time. Looks like he goes for the swipe out right away. A little quick laser move after clamping it. Doesn't see he has a lot of it. Tries to swipe it out. Jack does a good job of clamping over, securing the clamp as he swipes it out, not letting the ball escape. And they come up with the ground ball. Jack versus LaSalle again. It's a good tie up. LaSalle's doing a good job getting his hips around. So is Jack here. Like I said, I like to see Jack almost get off his knee maybe a little more and drive more into the ball as opposed to being worried about bending back LaSalle's head. Nowadays, these heads are so flexible that really this part of his head can get bent back while this part still secures the ball. And that's kind of what happens here. He still has it, it's looking like, and he's able to pull it out to himself. A nice little catch there, so it doesn't turn into a contested GB. Takes it down for some transition. Nice save. We have Schwenk back in here. Schwenk goes for the quick clamp and rake out. Get a piece of the ball and just rip it out. It's a very valid strategy. You just don't want to get in a scrum, especially with, it looks like a strong guy like Jack's pretty strong, wants to get around, bend back his head. Schwenk wants to get out of there, take what he has. So he rips it out. Unfortunately, goes pretty far, and Princeton's ground ball game comes up again. Looks like Thompson's able to get a little bit of piece of it, rip it out. Doesn't want to stay in a top battle too long with how LaSalle's been doing very well in. So he rips it out. Looks like there's just a little scrum for the ball. Gets kind of lost. Hits off his foot, and then it just becomes a ground ball scrum. And it's down in the Virginia attack box. Another great ground ball by Princeton's Poles. LaSalle versus Thompson again. I'd like to see Thompson maybe try to plant that foot in the ground. You see it's coming up right away. That means he's not really driving off of it. I think he could generate a lot of power using that left knee, try to dig those toes, that left foot, dig those toes on the turf, and use it to drive his left hand down the line with his right hand and clamp it into the ball, whereas it comes up and kind of off the ball. Gets up, does a good job trying to disrupt the pull. 14 on Princeton. I do not have his name in front of me right now. He's been doing a great job all game of reading where this face-off is going to be pulled to, and he always seems to be there in the way to muck it up and get the ground ball. Got LaSalle again versus Thompson. Like I said, you see his foot flaring out here. I'd like to see him just drive in, use that power he can generate from his legs to help him try to control some of that draw a little bit more. Gets out. He had success last face-off, so he goes back to swiping it out, and they were able to come with the ground ball. So I believe. So now it's Schwenk versus Jack. Schwenk does a really good job staying low, building his base, rotating around with his feet not jumping up from place to place. He's just step by step, hips follow the hands. Does a really good job of staying low. Jack's doing a really good job also staying low with his left hand. Now they're in a tie-up situation. Wings are in. Now, in this kind of situation, you either want to rip it past the wings and let them try to go off one of their backs and like push off and be able to go and get the ground ball, or you probably want to control it fully and have a really precise pull. Because when the wings are this close, you either want to go past them and let, like, say, Princeton's guy push off his back and go and get the ground ball, or you want to exit very closely to your chest and keep it to yourself because they could be there to disrupt that. So he's sawing in, keeping his left hand low. This is personally my preference for tie-ups. I like to kind of just wiggle in there. I don't necessarily think you always have to rotate around, get a rotating battle. Looks like they're kind of stopped the rotating right now, and they're kind of just both fighting to try to secure that ball. It looks like they're about 50-50. Jack might be getting more of it here. He does a great job just sawing in slowly, pretty methodically. Keeps his hand pretty low, 2 to 3 inches off the ground. Can help you. You just don't want to go much higher than that because then you start to lift up your own head off the ground, which won't help you in this situation. So he's sawing in, he secures it, loses sight of that pole a little bit, but he did do a good job. He was pulling to open space. He just lost sight of it, but he ended up being able to get the ground ball. So yeah, that was we just broke down some of the face-offs from Virginia Princeton. 2 good programs, 4 good guys, 4 good face-off men going at it. It was kind of the story of one mucking it up and one team being able to control the draw, but it just came down to after they controlled the clamp, could they get the ground ball afterwards?